Hey, welcome everybody to Shoot the Gap, the IDP Fantasy Football podcast here at Fantasy and Frames. Steve couldn't be here tonight, so obviously we wishing you a good time, and we will see you soon. But I'm Jorge. This is JT. JT, how you doing, man?
Doing all right. I little hoarse tonight, so sorry about the voice. Junior high football practice. We got a little fired up tonight. And I'm not much of a yeller, but had to get into the kids tonight. We've been real wacky days ago. We got our game canceled last Saturday for heat advisory. The whole league canceled their games, and so the kids have had like 4 or 5 days off and just real lackadaisical yesterday at practice. I was like, I had to get into them a little bit tonight. Broke out a bunch of scrimmaging, went all out, had to wake him up a bit. So the voice is a little tough, but I'm trying to fight through. You know, football season gets here, Jorge. No one's ever 100%. You just got to fight through.
Exactly. We're already at that stage in the football season in August. Fantastic. Yeah, man. This is the first time that some a-hole out there with germs got my kids sick, which then in turn got me sick and got my wife sick. And so we were both like, where's the NyQuil? There's only one package of NyQuil left. You know, the pills, whatever, gel caps.
Oh, yeah.
My gel caps. I'm like, they come in a pair. So I'm like, you take one, I take one. So
that's the worst thing about having kids is they get used to. I used to never get sick. I would work like 12, 60-hour days at the bar. So you think like, okay, you're at the restaurant, you're at the bar, you're going to get sick all the time. I usually would only get sick when I just absolutely ran myself in the ground. Man, the second my kids started school or started going to daycare around a bunch of other people, it was like instant. They got sick and got us sick. It's rough, man. When I'm in a small town, when something starts going around for a little bit, you notice it everywhere. It's like the whole school like starts getting sick. Everybody's family starts getting sick. It's wild how that happens.
Yeah. So, folks, I'm going to be conducting a challenge today, a special challenge I've never done before, and I do not advocate people do this. But I took my NyQuil right before we started, the show. And so my goal is to get through the rest of this show coherently, giving you fantastic IDP fantasy football advice, talking about the AFC South players for you today. And that is my goal, and we're going to make that happen. And speaking of making things happen, over at fantasyandframes.com, both JT and my draft IDP rankings are live there. So you can head over to that website and check out those rankings. And then also we've been dropping our IDP divisional previews left and right. Joe Harlow, Jolo 63 on X, he has been dropping so many articles for these divisional previews. And JT, you just dropped your article for the AFC South IDP divisional preview. So fitting that our last divisional preview episode that we're talking about today is that particular division. So yay symmetry. Also, some big news came across the Fantasy and Frames landscape last week. I want to say it took some doing, but I think Gary just likes us so much, and I say that kind of sarcastically. Like I know he likes me, but I don't know if he likes me.
I don't know if Gary likes anyone like a ton. I just don't think that's his personality. I think he if he doesn't totally shame you, I think he's like I like you guys. I feel the love from him, in his own personal way.
Right. So Gary Davenport, who writes for basically everyone and everywhere, from Bleacher Report to Football Guys to here at Fantasy and Frames, doing our IDP waiver wire article again this fall. The Godfather of IDP will be joining us here as a regular on Fourth and Frames going forward. So it'll be JT, myself, Gary, and Steve giving you awesome fantasy football advice from week to week, getting you ready to help win you your matchups. We started the Shoot the Gap Listener League draft a couple days ago, and of course, me being stupid, I totally forgot to set up auto start and stop, and now I'm catching it from all sides. What's going on? Why is my auto picks not happening? Yada da da da. And I'm just like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. JT, take care of this. But it's going well. Everybody's having a great time. That's the important thing. So really excited about that. I've been hearing left and right people talk about this as their first year playing IDP. And, I love it. I love it. And that's what it's all about, folks, is giving it a shot. Speaking
Jorge,
of giving,
and I've got to throw this in there. I think you were getting ready to say it. Just in our part of our Fantasy Football 101 series,
boom,
coming out, just finished Dynasty 101. My article
IDP
coming
101.
out here on the site. We got the Dynasty article. We've got a bunch of different stuff. Look at all the articles, but I give you kind of the reasons behind playing IDP. And if it's your first year trying it, either Redraft, Dynasty, I'm trying to give you a few pointers, where to go, what to look for. Please read that. And then also, if you have any questions, once you read it, hit me up or hit Jorge up at JT Orange or at Jorge B. Edwards on the X Machine, the Twitter, and ask us questions if you got any about certain guys or stuff. But we've got our rankings out there you can follow. You can read that article. I got into IDP on a whim. I literally just heard about IDP. I was like, that sounds freaking cool. I love defensive players. I was a defensive coordinator in high school. I have my son's defensive coordinator for his football team now. So I'm like, I love defensive players. I tried it on a whim. First time ever. Jorge, I went full out in one big swoop. I went auction, startup draft, full IDP, full dynasty, first time ever for all three.
Oh, wow.
Right off the bat. I
Just
tell
jump
you,
right in.
it was a lot. We had a lot of screw ups. It was a big mess. Thankfully, there's a lot of sites that make that easy now and a lot of rankings out there. But when we did this, when I started this league, maybe 10, I think it was about 10, 12 years ago, no one in my league had ever played Dynasty. No one had ever played IDP. I threw it out to a bunch of my friends and I was like, dude, let's try this freaking thing. And they're like, I'm in. Our first drafts, because it was a nightmare, was a live draft, and it took almost 10 hours.
Oh, wow.
Because we kept screwing up. We were on My Fantasy League beta, and it was like they were just trying out the auction stuff, and we were like throwing 7 guys up for auction at once. Nobody knew what was going on. It was a huge mess. We had to restart the draft like twice. It was crazy, but we got it done. It's fun. This league, everyone's in this league still loves it. It's their favorite league. And that's how I got introduced to IDP, and like none of us knew what was going on. And I suggest that, hey, get a bunch of friends that never played it. Try it all together. So like none of you have an advantage. And just get in there and do a redraft league. If you like it, you get used to it. The very next year, just switch it. Now do Dynasty. You know what you're doing. Go back, redraft the league. Nothing wrong with that. I think I will say there's a couple people, but a very, very small percentage that I've ever tried to get into IDP that didn't like it. Almost everybody that got into it was like, oh, this is like a totally different thing. And then there's nothing like, regular fantasy football, having a guy needing the offense have the ball for you to win the game. But in IDP, you don't. You got guys still out there. You got guys still playing. And they can win you the game. Their defense can win you the game. Defense wins championships. It's phenomenal. I love IDP. I think it's great. I'm an offensive guy too, so it's not like I don't like offense, but man, playing the whole gambit and the strategy. I go big into this in the article. My favorite thing about IDP Dynasty is the strategy. There are so many different ways to take to win. It's not, oh, well, I'm going to win. I got the number 1 pick, or I got this one guy, so I'm going to win the league. It's so much more variables, and you have to be a much better fantasy football player in order to win, because it's not as easy as I had the best highest scoring running back or highest scoring QB. I tell people this all the time. I had a league last year, super flex. Guy had Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. He thought like, I'm going to win this league easily. I'm dominating. Didn't even make the playoffs. It was a salary cap league, but he spent so much money on his QBs. He had no money left over to spend on defense, and he got worked on the defensive side of the ball. Didn't even make the playoffs with an awesome offense. So I get into this in the article. So go in there, check out IDP 101 on fantasyandframes.com. Check that out. I get into that. And again, like I said, I even say at the end of the article, got any questions? My DMs are always open. Hit me up. I would be happy to talk to you and answer anything you got.
So fun little story back from the expo a couple weeks ago. So a friend of ours, Nate Markham, and my friend, and I'm sure friends of other people, Colby Conway and his friend Jason, we would never go to the Saturday night party because it'd always be like overpriced beers, like $15 for like a Bud Light. I'm just like, no, I'll get my own beer and just bring it back to the hotel. And so every year, Colby and his friend Jason, they would not go to the party with it. But this year, they would like go do something else, which is, the smart thing to do. This year, they brought their PlayStation. And for some reason, they thought they were bringing Madden 25, but they actually brought Madden 13. And so we were having Madden competitions. And so when I was taking on all my competitors, I'm like still trying to get a feel for playing on offense. Yet, you know what kept me in the games? Calling the right defensive plays. I'm just like,
I tell you what, Jorge, I used to play in colleges when I was in college, when they first started the Madden college football tournaments, where they would like go around to college campuses and legit have tournaments. I tell you what kept me in almost every time I played was defense. Like people were just like, dude, why are you so good on defense? Like I would always, every time I played Dynasty leagues, do something, my defense would always just absolutely dominate because I just figured out the defense, how I need to run defense. Everybody concentrates on like offense and they're just like, oh, I'll just run whatever on defense. They don't think about what they're playing on defense. They're just like concentrate on offense. Man, if you concentrate on defense, you can dominate. That's awesome, dude. I tell you what, I'm getting into some of those old games, like bringing back some of the old college football, old Madden games. I've got a season going. I don't know if anybody saw on Netflix. They got that new Cowboys documentary out.
Yes.
So I've been watching that, and they have the one where they play the Eagles in the playoffs, and Herschel Walker comes back to play them on the Eagles. That 92 Eagles team is my favorite team on Tecmo Bowl. I've been playing old school Super Nintendo Tecmo Bowl 92 with that Eagles team. Randall Cunningham, Herschel Walker in the backfield. That Eagles defense is dominant. I love that game. I love that team. My son watched me playing. He goes, "What are you playing?" Because it's just, it's Tecmo Bowl. The old guy. I was like, dude, this game's awesome. I was like, this game made me absolutely fall in love with football when I was a kid. I loved it.
Did you ever see on like whether it's Instagram or TikTok the reel where the dad starts booting up his Nintendo 64 and he's booting up GoldenEye, and then as soon as he starts hearing like the music from GoldenEye, he starts losing his shit and he starts talking to his son. He's like, "Oh, it's your ass. It is your ass today." I was like, that is exactly what I'm talking about when that comes. When that time comes.
I tell you what, Jorge, GoldenEye was like the game when I was in high schoul.
Mm-hmm.
I am awesome at sporting games. I am terrible at shooting games. I used to play Golden. I would get right behind you, perfect back headshot, sneak up on you. I'd miss and get killed. I suck at GoldenEye. I am terrible at it. My friends used to just smoke me at GoldenEye, but man, I can play some football.
Madden. Yeah,
I can play some Madden. I can play some college football. You get me in there a little time. My son was talking smack to me. We had to stop playing each other for a while. He was talking smack to me. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat you down." And I was like, all right, I was trying to take it easy on him, but then he was just talking mad smack to me. I was like, all right, it's time to turn it on. I turned on the defense. I started blitzing. I started bringing the coverages. I like 3-pick-6'd him. Next thing you know, he was like, I won 62 to like 14, and he was up 14-0 on me. I was like, and he was like, "I'm not playing anymore. This is junk." I was like, don't be talking smack. I won't have to bring it down. But it's he's gotten a lot better because he's gotten older, but it's closer games now. But he's learned his lesson. Don't talk smack to dad when dad's got a lot of years of experience, because I'll figure it out. You give me one game, I start figuring out where the plays are that I want and what I'm doing. I'm going to figure it out. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Before we get into the AFC South IDPs, just a reminder, head over to TrophySmack.com today. Get your draft kits, get your draft boards, your banners, your belts, your trophies. I mean, anything they have on their website. Use the promo code FantasyandFrames10 and get 10% off. You see that belt over here over my shoulder? It's no joke, folks. It has some weight to it. It has some weight to it. It's pretty sweet. So again, head over to TrophySmack.com today. Use the promo code FantasyandFrames10, and let's get into it.
Jorge, before you do that, I just had my home league draft this weekend. Trophy Smack gave me a board, sent me a board, used the stickers, all the stuff. Everybody loved it. Worked out phenomenal. I'll have to post some pictures on my Twitter page, but it was great, man. Super lightweight. We usually go outside on the patio. I usually have like a 75-pound board that we write on. I was like, you know what? I'm done doing that. We're going to order a board from Trophy Smack. Got the board. It was great because it was a million degrees outside here in Illinois. The humidity felt like there was a gigantic wool blanket laying on top of you. It was so hot. So we had to be inside. We moved inside, and it was so lightweight. I was able to use painter's tape and tape it to the bottom of 2 TVs in the bar.
Oh, wow.
It was phenomenal. It was great. We used it. Everybody loved it. I got pictures of it. I highly suggest them. They had a ton of stickers, some hilarious stickers I gave the waitresses that say I suck and some things like that. They had big winner and loser ones. It was super funny. Whole pack of stuff. Did a great job. And I saw, and I didn't even realize this, I saw they do have IDP stickers as well, which almost no one ever has IDP stickers. I did see they have an IDP package. So I highly suggest it. Use it this year for my home draft, and everybody really liked it. Really easy to find, color coded by position. Just set them in front, pick them up, put the guy up on the board. So much easier. We loved it. It was great. Thank you, Trophy Smack. Guys loved it.
All right. Let's get into the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm going to do a rapid fire question right here. So I'm going to say a question and you're immediately going to say a name of a player. Okay.
Gotcha.
The must draft player from the Indianapolis Colts is.
Oh, for me,
rapid fire.
DeForest Buckner. If you just got to go off the top of your head.
See, I was expecting you to say like Zaire Franklin just because of his volume, and how his tackle volume.
Quick. I would have said Zaire Franklin if I was thinking more of myself. I love DeForest Buckner, but Zaire Franklin, yes, you're probably right. That is probably the one.
No, but see, I was anticipating you saying
Zaire Franklin.
Yes, I was.
And I ruined it because I didn't think about the right. Guy.
Yes. Rapid year fire. Okay. Anyhow, I think it's DeForest Buckner because yes, and he's a defensive tackle. But in defensive lineman leagues the past 3 years, DL 16 in Fantasy Pro scoring last season in points per game. DL 7 in the same scoring in 23. DL 15 in 22. This is a defensive tackle hanging with the best of the best at the edge rusher position. I mean, you want to talk about taking advantage of position scarcity? Like, there are some exceptions to the rules of fantasy, especially along the defensive line where you normally want to go get those edge rushers, defensive ends. Buckner is definitely, he is an exception to the rule. And so, especially now you throw that into him being in defensive tackle only leagues, like, oh, it's game over. You know what I mean?
In defensive tackle only leagues, and I play in a lot of these, and I feel like I bring him up all the time. He's the guy. He's the man. He is your secret weapon. Because so many defensive tackles are going to score no points, and he is a guy that scores like a defensive end as a defensive tackle. And I tell you what, DeForest Buckner, if you want to talk about team MVP, DeForest Buckner probably should have been the Colts team MVP the last 4 to 5 years. Because every time he does not play, if he is hurt and does not play, I can tell you right now that defense is horrible. They miss him. I mean, teams just run right at the Colts when there's no DeForest Buckner in the lineup. He is an absolute difference maker. I just had this conversation the other day. For all the bad trades they've made for different guys, Trent Richardson, some of those guys that they've made horrible trades, his trade was probably one of the best trades they've ever made. They traded their first round pick that ended up being Javon Kinlaw, Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah, easy.
I guarantee the Niners really regret that trade because he did nothing. He's on his second or third team since then. And DeForest Buckner has been outside of Aaron Donald. I think DeForest Buckner's been the absolute best defensive tackle of the last decade. I mean, easily. So to me, in a defensive tackle league, people will kind of forget about him. You'll get him later than Franklin, which makes him the must take. Because Franklin, you're going to have to take like right away, right? He's going to be like the first, second, third guy off the board in most drafts. So he's going to get drafted high. Buckner's the guy everybody forgets about. He's an absolute freaking stud. He's one of the few guys that fantasy relevancy is high, but real life relevancy is even higher. Because I mean, he is the man. There is no Zaire Franklin without Buckner. If Buckner's not doing everything in front of him, he's not making all the tackles.
and he's going to be somebody who could potentially impact our sleeper, which we'll get to in a second. Well, let's get into our bust here, and you and I have differing opinions about Nick Cross. Here's the thing, and this is something that Steve has brought up several times in conversations, that the former defensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals, Lou Anarumo, sorry if I'm butchering that, is now the new defensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts, and he likes to deploy a three safety rotation in his secondary. And when I was looking at PFF grades of the different safeties last season that are now on the Colts, Nick Cross, out of all of them, was the best coverage safety. So it makes me think okay, like Cameron Bynum, not a great coverage safety. Nick Cross, decent coverage safety, but he was held at the line of scrimmage, playing that box role. And yeah, he got you the 100, 20 plus tackles last year, in that, like, the first time ever, which is always the red flag for me. It's like, okay, well, who's the real Nick Cross? Well, the real Nick Cross, please stand up. And the fact that we have this change in scheme here, it makes me wonder if they view Cameron Bynum as a liability in coverage and play him closer to the line of scrimmage, thus having him be more fantasy relevant and get the box snaps for this Colts safety position here. What are your thoughts on Nick Cross?
Jorge, I think the hesitation is real. I think you're right. I think you're right on this. I like Nick Cross. He was a super young guy when they drafted him. He was like 19 going on 20. You knew it was going to be a couple years before he made the mix. He got in. He started as a free safety. Justin Blackmon was a strong safety. And then they inexplicably flipped last year. And all of a sudden, Cross started playing strong or box safety. And Blackmon started playing, free or deep safety. It's a weird mix. I like Cross still because his athletic ability is off the charts. And if anything that Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, does well, is he drafts athletic studs. Now, do they always work out and actually become good football players? Not all the time, but he always drafts those guys on the high end athletic scale, and that is what Nick Cross is. I'm worried. Real life, I'm really worried about this Colts secondary. Even though I like the names and the stats look good, I don't know if they're a very good secondary, and they haven't been for years. Safety's been their biggest problem. I am worried that Nick Cross is the next Jalen Petrie situation, where he has a monster year, scores super freaking high. Everyone's like, damn, I got to have that guy. And then everybody in front of him gets better. The defense pulls it together a little bit, and then he moves position slightly, and all of a sudden the stats just drop. So I'm really nervous. I have Nick Cross on a ton of Dynasty leagues. I will not lie. I've had him for a lot of years. I'm nervous. If you're in a redraft, I think I'm skipping him. Especially where he's getting taken. I mean, people are drafting him like he's a top 3 safety. Why he finished that way last year, that's not the case this year. I think for you, bust, especially if we want to consider bust where you're getting drafted, I don't think he should be getting drafted anywhere near where he's getting drafted. And again, like you said, new defensive coordinator, I am very interested to see what the scheme looks like. I'm nervous about all these guys. I like Bynum even, but Bynum played in a very friendly Vikings safety system. We saw all their nickel corners, all their safeties, all scored well last year. Is he going to be a guy that scores a lot this year? I think people are worried about Bynum because they're like, oh, is he going to play deep safety? Where is he going to play? Well, I think we should be saying the exact same thing about Cross. Like you said, do they flip those guys? Do they do a Rams thing where they're like moving back and forth constantly and you don't know who's playing where? I'm nervous about that because I think we see a Cam Kitchens, Cam Curl situation where we're like, he's moving these guys around a bunch and you just don't know where they're going to play. And you're just be like, oh, 1 week it's 65% box snaps. Next week he's 30% box snaps. And you're like, what are we doing here? Yeah. I am real nervous fantasy wise about this Colts secondary. And again, and I say this as a Colts fan, I tell people they were on the field damn near the entire game last year. So guys had insane fantasy stats because they just had to, because they were out there constantly. Now I'm disheartened by Daniel Jones. We're not going to get into the offensive side of the ball about AR not being the guy. But this team was like 3-and-out central or a touchdown last year. Like they did not hold on to the football. And this defense was on the field all the time, man. I'm nervous. If their offense gets any better, just even if they're not scoring, but they like at least get a couple more first downs, this defense is overall is going to score less fantasy points.
All right, let's finish off quickly with our last position here. Our sleeper here for the Indianapolis Colts, Laiatu Latu, UCLA last year, drafted by the Colts. He was PFF's best graded pass rusher last year with let's see here, with 38 total pressures and 4 sacks and 9 quarterback hits. Like all that was missing was the fact that they were like rotating him in and out. Now he's the guy. He's the guy on the end. Now we have DeForest Buckner eating up space in the middle, taking on more double team blocks there, freeing up some more one-on-one opportunities for Laiatu Latu. And I think we can finally put to bed, and I don't know whether or not this has already been done so, but I still feel like there's a lot of talk of like, well, he had that neck injury at UCLA. I'm like, you know what? That was a long time ago. And then when he came back from that neck injury, he dominated. And now he's getting the starting role on this Colts team. He's definitely somebody that I would be targeting in the later rounds of my IDP drafts for redraft this year as a D end. I'd probably want him as my DL3 just to be on the safe side and swing for upside there.
I agree with you. 4 sacks last year, 32 tackles, and basically a timeshare. I think they wanted to work him in slowly because they were slightly worried about the injury. I mean, people have talked about it. Like, he came back. If he wouldn't have been previously injured, everyone's like, he's a top 8 pick, top 5 pick. But like the injury concerns the only thing that worried them. They rotated guys in. I don't think they're going to rotate as much this year as they did last year. I think he is by far the biggest breakout defensive end candidate for second year guys. We always think about those guys that didn't necessarily crush as a rookie. He still had 32 tackles and 4 sacks as a rookie playing part-time. Adebayu's gone. He's on the Bears. Kwity Paye, while I like Kwity Paye, has been much better as a run stopper than a pass rusher. Latu, I think right now is clear-cut their best pass rusher on this team. I love it. I think he's a buy. He's going way later than like Verse, Hunter, a bunch of those other guys that got drafted in the same thing as him. He is going way later than them. He's my buy right now. I think he's an absolute steal at defensive end. I think he's in for a big year.
Nice. All right, let's go to the Tennessee Titans. And the recurring theme, a must here for the Titans, another defensive tackle, Jeffrey Simmons, going back, which by the way, let me go talk about this for a second. Did you see that Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons got into like an altercation at practice the other day?
I heard about it. I didn't actually see exactly what happened. I heard some rumblings.
So then today a reporter asked Cam Ward, so what did you get? What did you learn from your interaction with Jeffrey Simmons? And his response was, well, Jeff is strong as shit. So very honest. I love Cam Ward.
He's like, I'm a quarterback and you don't mess with D linemen because those guys will rip your head off. Like, yeah.
Right. But going back for fantasy and fantasy pro scoring, DL 14 last season, DL 17 and 23. And that was a jump from his DL 28 finish in 2022. Again, position scarcity. He's the best defensive lineman they have. And to be able to do that in leagues where you have just defensive linemen, not even defensive tackle specific positions, but defensive linemen. Again, one of these positions that later in your draft, you could be like, well, let me focus on linebackers. Let me focus on edge rushers, or let me focus on safeties, or let me focus on some other position. You could focus on any other position. You could punt defensive line all you want, and you miss out on the top edge rushers. And it's like, all I got are a bunch of defensive tackles like DeForest Buckner and Jeffrey Simmons. Draft back to back if you can.
I agree. They're my number 1 and number 2 ranked defensive tackles. So both those guys, if you're playing a defensive tackle start league, those guys are my 1 and 2 ranked. Buckner first, Simmons second. But even like you said, just D line leagues, I got both those guys in the top 20.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yep.
you think if you're in a 12-team league, 24 starting, if you just go 2 defensive linemen, so those guys are starters. They're edge, low end D2 D linemen. D linemen's, I love
Right.
them. I like, and again, people are going to forget about them because they're like, I don't want those like inside guys. And I tell you what, I hate to trash the Titans more and more, but man, like Simmons is the guy I want. If I'm drafting anyone on this on the Titans this year, Simmons is the one guy because I think teams are going to just be running at them constantly when they're winning. Simmons is the guy I like, and the fact that he can rush the passer, but he has proven over the years he can put up solid tackle numbers as well, even though he's on the interior.
Well, speaking of players I'm not drafting from the Titans, a bust candidate here is Xavier Woods. Played a lot of box safety over the course of his career. And the only thing, that concerns me when you have a box safety is when the box safety transitions to being a coverage safety in terms of being a free safety. Per ourlads.com, Amani Hooker is still slated to be the strong safety / box safety who finished as the DB 25 in points per game for Fantasy Pro scoring last season. Taking somebody like Xavier Woods, taking him out of his element, putting him in more coverage role, that to me decreases his overall value for fantasy. And so what you saw from him in Carolina last year, he's playing a completely different role, or at least being asked to start the season. So he's definitely somebody I'm fading here for the Tennessee Titans. And then a sleeper. This was a funny one to talk about, JT, because it's kind of like, is he a sleeper? Isn't he a sleeper? Is he a sleeper for the Titans? And I think that's the narrative I'm going with. He's a sleeper for the Titans. And tell me if you've heard this name before. Cody Barton. I mean, the guy's played everywhere, right? Whether it's been Seattle, Denver, Washington. Where was he last? I don't even remember where he was last year. Like, was he? No, he wasn't in Washington last year. He was in Denver last.
He was at Denver last year.
He was in Denver last year, yeah. And now he's in Tennessee. All through the training camps and OTAs. The defensive coordinator for the Titans has been like, he is the perfect, person I want on the field at all times, calling the plays. He fits our scheme so well. And I'm just like, are we talking about Cody Barton? Like this, what has been his saving grace for fantasy is his high tackle volume, right? The fact that there are indications that he could have a 3-down role on this defense is very encouraging. And if he can, and like you were saying, the Titans are not going to be what we call good this year. And so just like Jeffrey Simmons is going to have the opportunities for tackles, Cody Barton should be in line to get similar tackle volume, if not higher. Charlene is in the chat. What is up, Charlene? Welcome to Shoot the Gap.
This
anything you want to add to that?
Defense is terrible. I think they're going to be really bad. And I think the offense isn't going to be good. I was just having this conversation today. I legit think the Titans have a good shot at getting the number 1 pick again. I think they're really bad. The only thing that's keeping them out of it is because they're in a not very good division. So there's a chance they could sneak one out, a win here or there. I think they're bad. I like Cam Ward, so I will just throw that out off the bat. But if you watch the preseason games the other day, guys throwing dimes to Van Jefferson, and he's just nothing. Like he's in trouble until they get help. Barton is like that guy, you're like looking at. No, I'm not going to make that comparison. I'm in trouble with that. He's that guy. He's just like, he's that guy that like you never really want to pick because you're like, but like he does the job. He comes through. He gets you something, and somebody on this team is going to have to put up IDP stats, right? Somebody. That somebody is Cody Barton. I mean, Cody Barton, if you just wait, say you go heavy like D end, you jump in on some DBs early, and then you miss out on a lot of high end linebackers. He's the guy that's going to be one of those guys you could throw in when you need him. I think Cody Barton's a great sleeper.
Charlene in the chat saying they're bad, but they're not bad enough to get the number 1 pick. Charlene, that is some excellent analysis right there. It's almost like you were made to give some NFL and fantasy football analysis, and I wonder where you could do that. I wonder. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Just throwing that out there. All right, let's go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's go to the must here. Look, Devin Lloyd has been getting better and better each and every year. I think he is the must over Foyesade Oluokun. We saw with Foye Oluokun last year, him being implemented in a pass rushing role, but also so is Devin Lloyd. Okay. So in fact, Devin Lloyd, I believe he had, going back to last year, he had 10 pressures and 2 sacks. We have Oluokun, who had, I want to say he had 5 pressures and 1 sack. So it's like okay, well, that's more trending towards Oluokun being the guy here. So why am I fading Oluokun, and why am I saying aka he's a bust, and why am I saying Devin Lloyd is a must? Lloyd is horrible in coverage. Oluokun actually grades pretty well in coverage. So taking him outside of that run stopping role at the linebacker position, I think gives Lloyd the advantage here and makes him the must at the linebacker position. What are your thoughts on both linebackers, JT?
I have never been a Lloyd guy, to be honest with you, but he kind of changed my mind a little bit last year. I feel like he's finally coming in. Like, I always felt like he was overdrafted in the first round. So I'll just say that. I thought he's okay, but I'm like, is he a first round inside linebacker? Like, I didn't think so. So I thought he was a little overrated. Now I feel like he's way underrated because people have kind of been like, oh, he's a bust because he was a first rounder and he hasn't been dominant. I actually like him. So I'm actually targeting him at drafts, especially at cost, because everyone is overdrafting Oluokun. Everyone is still taking him like he's the guy leading the league in every stat, and he's not.
Right.
And I think he is getting slightly worse. I think Lloyd is better. I think Lloyd's the better buy, especially at cost. I'm going to throw you out a sneaky one here. That's a guy that I like. I mean, I guess I could throw this in the sleepers instead of the must-haves. I'll throw this one in the sleeper. I'll wait on this guy in the sleeper. I'll wait till we get him. But we're kind of throwing these guys together. Devin Lloyd, Oluokun. I tell you what, the other guy, I don't think he's a complete bust, but man, for where he's getting ranked and what he's getting you fantasy wise, man, Josh Allen Hines is tough. It's like we've seen what he can do 2 years ago, 17.5 sacks. That's what everyone was been waiting on in the IDP community for years. Like, since he got drafted, like, this is who he can be. And then he turns around and goes right back to 7.5 sacks, which is what he's basically been his whole career. So now we're looking at like, okay, are you a 17 sack guy? Are you a Myles Garrett, TJ Watt type of player? Or are you a 7 sack guy? And that's basically what you're going to do every year. So Hines for me, and I think we're going to count these together as we're talking about them. Right. You like Lloyd as your must. Oluokun is kind of your bust. I agree with you. I think Lloyd's probably the guy to have. I think Oluokun's kind of a bust. And I actually think that Josh Allen Hines at cost is a bust on this team. Maybe he gets back to double digits, but I wouldn't be counting on getting him 17 sacks again like he did 2 years ago. And to lead into that, because I'm just going off on a tangent here, a sleeper for me to go with Josh Allen, I actually like Trayvon Walker. I know people like he's a former overall number one pick. People are like, expect that guy to just dominate from the beginning. But we got to remember, he was real raw coming out of Georgia. He also was 20 years old. So it was like you knew it was going to take a little time for him to get it together. He's quietly had back-to-back double-digit sack seasons. And I think he's just getting better. And he's only 24. He just turned 24, entering his 4th NFL season. If I'm buying someone, especially in Dynasty, Trayvon Walker is my buy. He's my sleeper. Because I just think that he has still got room to grow. And he's one of those guys, he just keeps going up, 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 up. We're not getting that same consistency out of Josh Allen Hines.
So DL15 is what Trayvon Walker finished as last year. So 100% on board. The sleeper here, look, he's dual eligible on, go figure, the sleeper app. Okay, wide receiver, cornerback. And you know who I'm talking about, folks. I'm talking about Travis Hunter. If he is dual eligible to receive wide receiver points at cornerback for your nice jersey, JT. If he is dual eligible in your IDP leagues, you draft him as high as you can because the offensive points going to the defensive back position on top of whatever defensive back play he has. Oh, that's why I have him ranked over on our rankings as my DB1 overall, just because of that dual eligibility. Now, if that was not the case, he would not be my DB1. But the fact that there are a lot of platforms out there that have him as dual eligible wide receiver cornerback, it's almost like a cheat code. And I know in my home league that JT, you joined this year, in the first round at 111, you went IDP and you went Travis Hunter. And the second you did that, I'm like, oh, why did I not think about doing that?
Also, in another league we were in, I took Travis Hunter 101 in our rookie draft over Ashton GT. And people were
That's
like,
right.
oh my God, you took Travis Hunter. I'm like, if I can play Travis Hunter and he's a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 on sleeper and I can play him in a DB slot,
right,
I'm just playing an extra wide receiver. You're just giving me an extra wide receiver on defense who actually gets a couple extra points on top of that. I also want to shout out Jamie for getting me that jersey, old school. He not only did get me the Travis Hunter jersey, he got me the old school with the jag on the sleeve with the gold outline, which I wore it for my draft. I drafted this last weekend in honor. Jamie did, but Travis Hunter is, and I get into this a little bit in the AFC South article that's on fantasyandframes.com. If you're in a league that you can play him on defense, I just don't know how he's not maybe the 101 overall number 1 ranked player on defense. I mean, the fact that you can get a guy who's right now looking like he's going to legit be the number 2 wide receiver on a team that's going to pass the ball quite a bit, and you can play that guy in a defensive spot, I don't know how you take him. Now, if you're just playing straight defense, say you're in a league where offensive stats don't count, you're literally just playing defense only league, he's playing corner, I've got him on Fantasy Pro scoring. I've got him closer to like in the mid 20s, early 30s, I think, my ranking, because again, we don't know where they're going to use him. Is he going to play all the time? Is he going to play 50% of the time on defense? Is he a slot corner? Is he actually going to play on the outside? That's where I'm iffy if you're playing him straight defense. But man, if you can use him in a defensive spot, if you're in a start cornerback league, like, oh my God, I have a league where he's a start cornerback league and you can start him on MFL at cornerback. That's the question. So I'm in a league on MFL that says, hey, they put him as a wideout. The commission says we're not changing it. He's a wideout only. It changes everything. He can still get extra stats on defense, but those extra stats on defense don't help you as being a defensive player who can get extra stats on offense. So got to ask your league manager how they're going to look at that, because to me, that's a big difference. Right. If he's a wideout who gets extra defense stats, okay. Right. If he's a DB that gets offensive stats,
right. Yeah.
I mean, he could be the unicorn. He could win you the league. I mean, clearly. I mean, you could go from getting 10 points a game or 5 points a game from a defensive back to that guy could be scoring you 25, 30 on a regular basis.
Charlene asks, how high is too high to draft him? Well, I think that kind of hit it right on the head. Like if he's getting points for wide receivers,
if you can play him as a defensive back, I'm taking him in the first round. I mean, like especially in a redraft league, I'm probably taking him in the first round. If you're playing a full IDP league where defense can score, I'm taking him, because I think he can finish as a wide receiver 2 or 3 in the league this year. I definitely think he can be in that mix. So if he scores that and you can play him at a defensive spot, you've just gotten yourself a big cheat code. I mean, a huge, huge cheat code. Again, it's hard not to take GT at 101 in a rookie draft, but if you can play him, if you're on sleeper, and I will tell people this, pay attention, please. Sleeper will let you play him either spot, which is even better, because you can play him at a wideout if you have to on a bye week, but you obviously want to play him on defense, you can. But MFL, check with your commish, because I'm in leagues where he's listed as a wideout and they say, no, you can't play him on defense. My leagues that I commish, I told people he's allowed to be played on defense, but I have to physically make that change. So you want to check for sure with your commission on that.
Charlene says, I have a mini IDP home league, 1 linebacker, 1 DB, 1 DL, and 2 IDP flex. Again, if he's dual eligible, he is my 1 DB.
Yeah, and I'm taking him early, because again, technically, he could easily be a top 24 wide receiver in the league. And now you can play him at defensive back.
Right.
Like you're just getting a free wide receiver is what you're doing.
Right.
You're just getting extra offensive player every week. That's a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage.
Yep. All right, let's get into the last team that we're covering here, the Houston Texans. Let's start with our musts here. And again, I would normally go, linebacker, the guy who's going to be calling the plays, Azeez Al-Shaair, and I don't want to spoil it for people. But you have some thoughts on Azeez Al-Shaair that it's not so cut and dry that he is a must player. That folks, if you head over to fantasyframes.com and check out JT's AFC South divisional preview for IDP, it is there on our homepage. So therefore, I'm going to stick with my theme here, and I'm going basically give me the duo of Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, double-digit sacks last year. There's all this concern about Danielle Hunter. Well, he's going from like a hand in the turf versus dirt, get it? Defensive end to now being a standing outside linebacker. How is he going to do? Well, he did pretty darn well. So I think these two guys, I think Hunter commands more of the value because we're seeing the ramping up process of Will Anderson starting to take place. Danielle Hunter has been the more established player, which is why he's probably going up drafts. But either way, if I can get one of these two guys as my defensive lineman, I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Absolutely. I think this is a top 5 duo and could be pushing for the number 1 pass rush duo in the league. I mean, these guys are real good. Danielle Hunter, I don't care if he's standing up or got his hand in the ground. Whatever he feels comfortable doing, I'm letting him do as a defense coordinator because, he's a beast. Anderson's going up the boards. Dynasty, obviously, he's the higher value in Dynasty because of the age. He's younger. But redraft, I don't know how you pass on Hunter. The guy's just been a beast over and over and over again. Outside of the injury seasons, I think he's at least 1, maybe 2, if I can remember off the top of my head. I mean, the guy's just been outstanding his whole career. This duo I freaking love. I want one of them, and if I can get both, I don't mind taking both of them. I'm the same way like a Steelers. I'll take a TJ Watt and an Alex Highsmith. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, should I take Highsmith because I took TJ Watt? No, I'll take both of them. I'll take both these guys for sure. To me, I think you're 100% on this one, Jorge. These are the two guys you absolutely want to come away with in a draft if you're drafting a Texans defensive player.
All right, JT, let's get to our bust here for the Houston Texans. Can you speak a little bit about EJ Speed?
Yeah, EJ Speed's a guy I like. As a Colts fan, I love to see him. I mean, he was a low draft pick from a tiny college. Him making his way up and eventually becoming a starter and a pretty solid IDP player is just a great story. It's awesome. The problem is he put up some really good stats last year, but the metrics were bad. The metrics were not good. He was not like making impact tackles. He was like the guy grabbing ankles as a guy had an 8-yard run downfield. He was in on a ton of assists. He did make tackles, but it was a little bit of a false gold, I will say. As hence by you saw he just put up career numbers, then they let him walk.
Right.
That's a problem.
Right.
That's a problem, especially when the Colts weren't great. So you're like, all right, our defense isn't great. This guy put up great stats. Why are we letting him go? And they let him get replaced by a former safety who's now a linebacker. Also in my article, Darlin Carlisle's out of Missouri. So check that out. I'll talk about him in that article. They let that guy who played 2 games behind Speed when he was injured, and they just said, we're not drafting him, but we're going with that guy over you. To me, that says something. Now he goes to the Texans, who just are a cluster at linebacker, and they have been for a couple seasons. We're just not sure what they're going to do. What's this go? I mean, they've been in and out on guys. They're like, oh, we're playing this guy, we're playing this. I tell you what, outside of Al-Shaair, the other 3 or 4 linebackers, I can't tell you right now who's going to start, who's going to be the backup, who's going to be relevant for IDP. So I'm ignoring all of them. And that's what it comes down to me. To me, if Speed ends up winning a job and getting in there and he keeps getting random fantasy stats, I'm picking him up. But people are going to look at the stats last year and go, oh, I got to draft him. because he was like, I mean, I'm in a draft right now. It's a 10 keeper league. It's a 10 pick keeper league. I just joined it, took over a team. Speed was one of my guys. They're like, you're not keeping Speed? He was like one of the top scorers in this league. And this is high IDP scoring. I'm like, oh no, he's not going to score that this year. He just went like the third round of our league. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
someone want to tell him?
Granted, there's 12 teams and they kept 10 players, but still I'm like, oh, that's there. I mean, there was a ton of guys on the board. Devin Lloyd was on the board and EJ Speed came off it. And I think someone just looked and said, oh, he scored 500 points in this random league last year, which is, like I said, super high scoring defensive. I'm like, no, I mean, I'll keep an eye on him if he ends up winning a spot and playing, but like, I'm not drafting as he's a top 10 scorer in IDP this year because I'm not even sure he's going to start for this team.
Yeah. That's why you don't, box stat, player or box stat. Was it stat chase players? There we go.
Yep. Or, box watch. You're watching,
box watch, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. You're just looking at that box score. That's all you're paying attention to.
Box score. Thank you. Yep. Wow. I totally screwed that up. Okay. Well, let's get to our sleeper to round out here for the Houston Texans, as well as all the other teams for the AFC South. And this guy was formerly a defensive back one in most leagues in scoring, definitely was in Fantasy Pro scoring a couple years ago. And then they said, hey, Jalen Petrie, we want you to play more in coverage. And things just kind of went downhill for there. But now I'm calling him a sleeper. Why? He is now their Nickelback. And for copyright sakes, I will not play the clip that has the Nickelback song that we usually play
anymore. Dang it.
Yeah, I know. Goddamn YouTube.
And they don't want us to sing. They don't want us to sing it. So it's all right.
I don't think anybody wants us to sing, JT. But you know what? At the Expo next year, maybe we will. We'll do a duet or something. So Jalen Petrie being the Nickelback, that is something I find very intriguing, especially in cornerback specific leagues. Maybe not so much as a DB overall in DB specific leagues, but in a cornerback specific, I mean, this guy could be asked to play all over the field at the line of scrimmage and run support, obviously slot coverage. He could be that sleeper defensive back that people are just kind of writing off because of the past couple seasons where he dropped off so far from his DB1 overall performance a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I like it with him moving kind of the slot corner here. I like it. He's finally probably back to earth value-wise. People were overdrafting because that rookie year, he just had a monster year. Right. And part of it was their defense was so bad that he had to make every tackle at safety, which is never what you want. You never want your safety leading your team in tackles, but he did because they were so horrible in front of him. But they fixed that. They're a much better defense now. So we knew the numbers were going to come down eventually. They've moved him around a bit as they kind of switch up the secondary. I like him there. A guy that I think is a little bit of a sleeper to keep an eye on. And this seems strange because I know we don't usually like deep safeties, but I do kind of like Galen Bullock. Second year. He kind of came on near the end of last season. Guy was an absolute stud in college out of USC. I think there's a chance he's locked in right now as the deep safety. I think there's a chance that he moves around a little bit. So if you're looking in a deep league or you're like, say you get some injuries early on in your leagues and you're like, oh, I need a safety. I need some help. Bullock, I'm probably not drafting Bullock, especially in redraft. Dynasty, I don't mind stashing him. I've got him a couple taxi squads, but he's a guy to keep an eye on. If stuff starts kind of falling apart, guys move around, they've replaced some guys in that secondary. I think he could kind of give you sneaky, decent stats. I will compare him to last year Quan Martin for the Commanders.
Yep.
Who also played deep safety, but if you went back and looked at his stats, he actually was putting up pretty solid numbers, even though he wasn't playing in the box. He put up pretty good points scored per week. So I actually have him and Bullock on a team where they were on my taxi, and now they're like my safety 3 and 4 in a deep league, where I will get those guys in on bye weeks, or if I have an injury, I'll play them. So just a name to keep an eye on. Don't have to go out there and overdraft him. Don't go crazy. I would take Petrie over him, honestly, like you said, because he's playing the slot corner. But Bullock's a guy I think is going to maybe take a step. Second year guy out of USC, even though he's slotted for the deep stuff, I think he could be fantasy relevant.
All right, folks. So that's going to do it for our IDP AFC South divisional preview, excuse me. Thank you very much for tuning in. And of course, remember to head over to fantasyandframes.com and check out JT and my IDP rankings, which should be updated before your very important weekends. This weekend and every single day going forward is full of fantasy football drafts. We want to get you ready. We want to get you all the information, which is why we give you IDP divisional previews. We give you offensive divisional previews. We give you all the podcast versions of both. We have graphics that are going out on Instagram and on TikTok and videos, and all sorts of ways of, enjoying our content and getting you ready for your drafts. And then next thing you know, folks, we're all in for week 1. So just thank you very much for tuning in. And again, follow Fantasy and Frames wherever you're watching us, whether it's on X. I can't call it X. I'm sorry. Whether it's on Twitter or Facebook. Don't forget to head over to our YouTube channel, like, subscribe, so you're notified when Fantasy and Frames goes live with content. Speaking of more content, in just a few minutes, the Fourth and Frames crew, Drew and Nate Markham, welcome Keith Fleming from Fantasy Six Pack and Optimus Fantasy to talk about the NFC South from so this is their last divisional preview. Funny that we're both wrapping up divisional previews right now. And head over to fantasyandframes.com and check out Rhett Manuel's NFC South divisional preview article. Definitely go check that out. Philip, the donation, thank you so much. That means the world to us. Thank you so much, Philip. Really appreciate that. And thank you all of you for your support. So for JT, I'm Jorge. We will see you all next Wednesday.